Everybody, I am Mr. P.P. Mangave, lecturer in Department of Mechanical Engineering at Sharad Institute of Technology, Polytechnic, Yadra. Today we are here to learn the chapter number 1 of tool engineering, that is basics of tool engineering. So we'll be seeing different contents of this chapter. Now, what are the contents of this presentation we'll be seeing here? First, we'll be seeing the chapter wise weightage. Second, we'll be seeing the course outcomes. Third, we'll be seeing what are the introductions. Then we'll be seeing types of machining. Then we'll be seeing tool requirements in this. Coming to the next slide, as it is seen here, there are a total of 150 marks allotted to this tool engineering, that is 70 marks of your final semester examination, 30 marks for progressive assessment, out of which 10 marks are for micro project, 20 marks are for both unit test average. Then for practical, you'll have to write a end semester examination of 25 marks, and the remaining 25 marks are for your progressive assessment done for your manual and other practical conductions. Next, what are the course outcomes? That is, after you will study the tool engineering subject for this semester of mechanical engineering, that is fifth semester, what are the course outcomes? That is, what are the things that you will be able to learn after this course ends? That is, first you will be able to select a proper tool for manufacturing operation. Next, you will be able to select and interpret different designations of tools and tool holders. Next, you will be able to select different clamping and locating devices for your workpiece. Next, you will be able to select a jig and a fixture for a particular component or a particular application. Next course outcome is you will be able to classify different types of press tools and different press tool operations. And last is you can select a simple die, that is for bending, drawing and other applications. Coming to the chapter wise mark distribution, the first chapter carries 8 marks, second for 8 marks, third chapter is for locating and clamping devices, that is for 10 marks, fourth chapter is jig and fixtures, that is for 12 marks, press tool design, that is an important chapter, for 20 marks, and the last chapter carries 12 marks. Okay, so we will be overviewing the first chapter. We'll be starting here. So what are the contents of the first chapter? As you can see in the topics, mechanics of metal cutting, cutting forces, that is different types of chip, chip thickness ratio, shear angle, merchant circle. Next, you will be able to see types of metal cutting process, or you can simply call it as the types of machining processes. Next, you will see cutting tool geometry. Next point you will see of economy, its concept and meaning, that is the economical factors that will be affecting the tools and its life and its cost and other various parameters. And last, there are various principles of tool engineering. Coming to the content, now what is tool engineering? A figure is shown here. It simply says a simple workpiece that is rotating, and then a simple cutting tool is allowed to flow against the workpiece at a certain depth or width. So here the frictional forces and other shear forces cause the material to get removed from the workpiece. Now how this material gets removed? Due to shear force and the cutting force and the thrust force that are acting upon the tool, a combination of such forces causes the material to get removed from the job, and thus we achieve the final accurate dimensions. Now here, what is a tool? A tool is basically a wedge shaped device that is used to remove the material from a workpiece, and thus the removed material is formed in the state of a chip. Here in modern tooling you can simply say the tool material removal rates remain the same as compared to ancient, because the shear force and the cutting forces required to remove a certain amount of depth of material from the workpiece remains the same. Whenever a tool is engaged with that kind of a workpiece, this causes the material to get removed. But when this material is removed from the workpiece, it leads to tremendous pressure and stress generated on the tool as well as the workpiece. Here, many engineering components such as gears, clutches, bearings, tools, such assembly components, or you can say high functional, high speed accuracy components, need very high surface finish and high dimensional accuracy. So, why such kind of tools are required? Because casting, forging, and other some machining processes are unable to give such type of dimensional accuracy and surface finish. Hence, by using such material removal tools such as single point cutting tool or multi point cutting tool, we are able to achieve the dimensional accuracy as well as the surface finish. Next, such parts can be called as single point cutting tool or multi point cutting tool. As said earlier, they need semi finishing and proper accurate dimensional finishing. This can be done only by machining and grinding for achieving proper surface finish. Also, there is another process called as grinding, which removes the particles from the surface in a very fine manner to achieve proper roughness value, or proper, you can say, proper surface finish. Now, why we are studying tool engineering? Whenever a material is to be removed, as discussed earlier, tremendous pressure and stress forces are to be generated by this process, and they affect the tool life. So for basically better tool life is to be desired to study, and thus if tool life increases, then there is a proper machining and thus does not affect the economical parameters. Next, we have to increase the production rate. Also, tool engineering helps to increase the production rate by simply evaluating different parameters. Next, accurate machining, that is as discussed earlier, processes such as forging, casting, or bending do not generate some kind of dimensionally accurate or good surface finish components. So we have to study tool engineering for accurate machining purposes. Coming to the next point, that is greater surface finish, as discussed earlier. Next, whenever there is a proper material removal, there is less power consumption, which in turn affects the economical factors. And last, that is selection of proper machining method for a particular application. See, whenever a particular finished product is to be generated, a proper machining sequence is to be decided. It is not such like that you can easily do a machining process by selecting any of the machining parameters and remove any amount of material. That will definitely hamper the tool life and the life of the component. So proper machining method, that may be a grinding, that may be simple turning method, that may be a drilling method, that may be a milling method, that must be selected to generate the proper dimensions of any component. So these are the different factors that you have to study for tool engineering. Now next part of this chapter is machining. The above part was introduction, why we have to study tool engineering, what is tool engineering, and what are the different aspects the tool engineering subject looks into, or you can say the basics of tooling, as the chapter name itself suggests. Now what is a machining, or simply you can say what are different material removal techniques. So removing material from any workpiece with the help of a wedge shaped tool or any shaped tool to achieve desired dimensions can be called as machining. Depending upon the tool surface, or you can simply say depending upon the angle of the tool cutting surface, and depending upon the dimensional accuracy, which type of machining is to be done, that is to be decided. Proper machining enables smooth operation. Also it affects the economical factors, that is it's reduce the economical considerations, and it leads to higher production rate. Below are the two different types of machining, or you can simply say metal removal techniques, that is orthogonal technique or oblique technique or oblique cutting. As you can see in the below figure, the figure to the left shows orthogonal cutting, figure to the right shows oblique cutting. As you can see clearly in the above figure, that is a wedge shaped tool is inserted at a certain width to remove the material, and it travels in the forward direction, which will cause the material to remove. Here you can see there is a difference between orthogonal cutting and oblique cutting. And in the oblique cutting, you can see the surface of the tool is inclined at an angle to the direction of tool travel, or you can simply say to the along the surface of the workpiece. The clear difference is the seen in the below figure. Okay, coming to the details. Now what is orthogonal cutting? As discussed earlier, the cutting edge of the tool remains normal to the direction of the feed, or you can simply call that this cutting can be done at 90 degree, or this cutting is done at 90 degree. The direction of tool travel and the surface of the workpiece remains inclined at 90 degree. Here the chips flow in a direction normal to the cutting edge of the tool, that is they flow over the surface or upper surface of the tool. Such type of cutting causes two different forces to be generated. They are mainly the cutting force that is applied by the tool on the workpiece, and the thrust force that is applied again in between the tool and the workpiece. So as you can see, mainly two forces are generated, the cutting force and the thrust force. Hence it is called as a two-dimensional cutting, or simply you can call it as a orthogonal cutting. Coming to the next type of material removal, that is oblique cutting. Here as discussed earlier, the cutting tool remains inclined at an angle to the direction of tool feed or direction of feed. This causes the chip of the removed material to flow at an angle to the normal of the cutting edge. That angle is known as chip flow angle, that is the angle made by the chip with the normal to the tool surface. Next you can see here, that is there are three different forces acting, that is a thrust force, the cutting force, and last is the radial force. Here radial force is generated because the inclination between the angle is less than 90 degree, that causes a third force called as radial force to generate. So hence this type of cutting can be called as a three-dimensional cutting. As the name itself suggests, it is a oblique cutting. Next, here you can simply see, as the tool is inclined at a certain angle to the normal of the workpiece or direction of feed, you can simply see that larger area of the tool is engaged in removing material, so the shear force get distributed and thus tool life is increased. As in case of orthogonal cutting, smaller face is engaged in removing material, hence the shear force there gets distributed at a smaller area, which causes more tool wear as compared to oblique cutting. Now next we'll be seeing the difference between orthogonal and oblique cutting. Now what are the difference? As discussed earlier, orthogonal cutting, the edge of the tool remains perpendicular, whereas in oblique cutting the edge of the tool remains inclined. Here in orthogonal cutting, the chip flow is the direction perpendicular to the cutting edge. The chip flow angle is not perpendicular, it is more than 0. Third point, there are only two components, that is cutting force and the thrust force. Whereas in oblique cutting you can see there are three mutually perpendicular forces, that is thrust force, cutting force and the radial force. Hence it can be called as a three-dimensional cutting. Now again, chips here form in a spring coil and chip always flow in a sideways direction in oblique cutting. More probably, considering this point, that depends upon the type of the material that you are machining, so that can be considered as an less important point. Now, as said, in orthogonal cutting less amount of heat is generated at a more amount of heat is generated at a higher cutting area, or you can say more amount of heat is generated in a angle perpendicular to 90 degree, that of feed angle. That means heat concentration is more in cutting region in orthogonal cutting, whereas the more amount of tool surface is engaged, that means the heat concentration area for generated heat is increased. That means less concentration of heat, that is less heat is generated. Now here, as less area more forces are acting, whereas more area less forces are acting. Now as compared to surface finish factor, the surface finish of the orthogonal cutting is poor, whereas in oblique cutting is more surface finish. Now this type of orthogonal cutting can be used for knurling, slotting, parting, cutting, etc. And oblique cutting is mostly used in drilling, grinding, milling and other high speed applications. Coming to the next point, that is, these are different types of machining. Now we will be seeing what is a cutting tool and what are the requirements, or you can say what are the desired properties. You can see a cutting tool, as discussed above, that is used basically to remove the material. During this material removal process, more amount of forces are generated and different factors affect the cutting speed. So what are the basics of a optimum tool life, or you can simply say what are the basic parameters that affect a cutting tool and how a cutting tool should be. First property, that is hardness. As you can see, that is a basic. From the workpiece, if the material is to be removed, it is obvious that the tool we are using to remove the material, that must be harder than the material removed. That is, the material of the tool should be more harder than that of the material which is to be machined, so that it must easy for the tool to penetrate inside the work piece. Next property is hot hardness. Hot hardness is the ability of the cutting tool to maintain its dimensional accuracy and its strength at higher temperatures. As you can see, whenever we are operating or machining or removing the material, more amount of stresses and forces act on the tool as well as workpiece. So this leads to stress concentration, heat concentration, and large amount of heat is generated. This in turn leads to rise in temperature. So the temperature of tool body increases. If the strength decreases with increasing tool temperature, then it will definitely cause to affect the tool life and machining ability. So a hot hardness temperature or hot hardness property should be greater, that is a tool must be able to sustain its property even at higher or elevated working temperature. Coming to the next property, that is toughness. That is, toughness means the property or the ability of material of the tool to withstand different impact loads. Whenever there are fluctuations in the forces of cut we apply, that will lead to different impact. If there is an impact force acting, and that will lead to breakage of the tool, or you can say simply the dimensions of the tool get changed, that is, it means the material is less tough. Therefore the material should have high toughness. Next property, that is wear resistance. As toughness and wear resistance property are almost intercorrelated, that is, in machining the chips flow over the workpiece, as well as moreover they flow over the tool. So this chip flow and the cutting edge will cause the surface of the tool to wear. So that means the tool will fade away and its cutting ability will decrease, that is its efficiency will decrease. So whenever a tool with great wear resistance is used, it will definitely increase the tool life. Next point, that is low friction. Whenever you can see, that is a proper friction is to be generated while removing the material, so that proper stress force, or you can say proper shear force, is generated to remove the material. But in this case we are talking about the friction between the chip flowing over the tool surface, that must be less. If that is greater, the chips will adhere to the tool, and that will cause the tool weight and the load distribution or the stress distribution on the tool to act in an unbalanced way, which will lead to improper cutting or material removal. And the last property we will be seeing is the thermal characteristics. That is, a lot of heat is generated at the cutting zone, thus the tool material should have high thermal conductivity to dissipate the heat. As you can see, the cutting edge is only included or indulged in removing the material, but this causes more heat to be conducted to the tool, and in case it leads to tool material or tool body temperature increases. Thus, if the material is having less heat conductivity, it will not conduct the heat from the cutting zone to the tool to the environment. But if it will have high thermal conducting properties, it will easily dissipate the heat, and it will help to machining easiness. From the different properties, the best properties preferred is with more hardness than the workpiece, that is desired property. Next is high hot hardness temperature. Next is high toughness. Next is high wear resistance. And next, low friction between chip and the tool surface. And last is better thermal characteristics, or simply you can call as better thermal conductivity. So these are the different properties that are to be preferred while selecting a tool for a particular application. Thank you.